It's time to swap out some bushes. These are all the bushes that I'll be replacing. Most of them are on the front suspension. So these 4 are for the front wishbones. These are for the anti-roll bar and the anti-roll bar drop links. On the rear there is one for the radius control arm. And I borrowed a bush removal kit from Phil. Thanks, buddy. I'm going to start by taking off the anti-roll bar on the front. I'm going to take off the wishbone bolts now. So it holds the bushing in. This is the bushing itself. It has a flat top here which sits against the body. Now what I'm hoping to do is to be able to press this out without disconnecting the ball joint here. Hopefully I can do it from here. So I have made one change here. The nuts that come with this kit wouldn't actually fit inside the sleeve here to push this out. So I put on a socket here, 22mm socket, to push the bush out into the cavity. Almost out. And here is the bush inside the cavity here. So the bushing made it most of the way in, but I just couldn't send it home. So I think it might need a little helping hand just because it's brand new. Need a lot of force. I'm going to use some of this Honda Shinatsu grease. I won't put too much on and just ease it in. I won't bother filming this again. I'll let you know if it goes well. So that bit of grease did the job. Bush is now installed. Onto the other side. I'm going to replace the rear wishbone bush now. Just presses in. And this is where it goes. Okay, I'm just going to attach everything here, not too tightly because you need to tighten it all when it's on the ground or when the wheels are on chocks or something like that. There was some minor surface rust on this anti-roll bar, so I just thought I'd give it a quick rust converter coat. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am going to swap on the anti-roll bar bushes. Might give these a little spruce up as well. I have it all mocked up here, but just before I tighten it down, I'd show you the order. So there is a nut on top, then a washer, then a bush, anti-roll bar, bush, washer. This is part of the rod that goes through the middle. Again, washer, bush, goes through the wishbone, bush, washer, and then the final nut. So basically everything is isolated. Anything that touches either the wishbone or the anti-roll bar has got rubber on either side of it. That's the fronts all done. New bushing, new anti-roll bar bushes, end links, and the bushes themselves. Moving to the rear. I'm only going to be doing one bush on the rear. I'll show you where it is. Up here on what is called the radius arm. So there's just one large bolt that holds this in. It's a 17mm bolt. I'm after loosening it there. Quite unusual splines on it, so maybe this is where you adjust the toe in the rear, I'm not sure. I'll be getting alignment done anyway after all this. I'm hoping I can just arch this down and replace the bushing without taking everything off the car. Okay. Should be just about enough. Should be just about enough room to do this. It's kind of tensioned back into place with the lower end of this arm. Hopefully this goes a little smoother than the front. Okay. It was easy. Hopefully your replacement goes in as easy as it came out. Okay, so I pulled it through too far that direction, so I need to go back the other way. So essentially it's like when you're pulling it out in the first place. So I'm going to use the camera as a guide so that I can see when it's pushed back in far enough. Okay, the lip is now seated against the edge, so that should be right. Yep, all good. Now it's just a matter of putting the bolt back in. And again, I'll torque that up to spec once it's on the ground. So it's time to tighten the rear bushes. So I've got the wheels back on the rear. I've lowered it down onto these wooden blocks so that the weight of the car is now down on the wheels. You have to do this when you're tightening the bushes. You don't do it when it's up in the air. Just going to tighten this up to 64 Newton meters. Now moving on to tightening down the front. So I've got the front wheels down on the wood, up in the air at the back. There are 2 bolts here which have to go to 64 Newton meters, and one just here goes to 62 Newton meters, and then the anti-roll bar after that. These anti-roll bar bolts need to be tightened to 22 Newton meters. And that is it. All the bushes are replaced. Just need to put the under tray back on and we're done. So I hope this video shows you that it's pretty straightforward to change the bushes on the beat. All you need is one of those bush removal tools. You can do it in a more DIY kind of threaded bar and nuts and all that, but if you can get your hands on a kit either by borrowing one or renting one, it's way easier. So long.